Okay, so we're going to start looking at chapter 2, which is on inequalities. So we talked a little bit about what those symbols were. We're going to write them down again, just so you have them in your guided notes. But an inequality is a symbol, and then what you guys want to write down is the underlined part. An inequality is a symbol that compares two expressions. So remember, in math, there's two different kinds of expressions. There's numeric, and there's algebraic.
Same thing with the same type of like genre of like metric and imperial. It's like two different things.
Yeah, numeric and algebraic are two different things. Okay. Yeah. Algebraic has a letter in it, but numeric doesn't. So could somebody give me a numeric expression? Yeah.
1 plus 2 equals 3.
Yeah, 1 plus 2 equals 3. So I'm just going to simplify it, just say 3. So 3. Can someone give me an algebraic expression?
2a plus 4 equals...
That's good. Stop there, because expression means doesn't have an equal sign. Just 2a plus 4. All right? So we'll go with that. 2a plus 4. So on the left is a numeric expression. It's a number. On the right is an algebraic expression. And then there's a choice of 4 different symbols we could put between them. There's one of them. So if I do that, that's an inequality. 3 is less than 2a plus 4. So there's 4 different inequality symbols. I think you guys already have the 4 symbols. There are 4 written. Now you just have to write the symbols themselves. Okay, so we'll put one symbol in each box.
Which box?
Right on the front.
Oh, I was looking at that.
And then we'll just go over basically some words, or like how you say that symbol. Yeah, let's start with the top one. Someone remind me from the warm-up, what does that one mean?
Less than.
Right, it means is less than. So like we'd say 3 is less than 2a plus 4. You could say is less than, or you could also say is fewer than. We usually say is less than, but when you're doing a word problem, if you see the words is fewer, that could also mean less than. All right, let's look at this one. So it's like the less than symbol, but now it's got the line under it.
Less than, greater, or equal to.
Less than or equal to.
Less than or equal to. Anytime you have an inequality symbol and you put the horizontal line under it, it means you have to add or equal to. So that's is less than or equal to. Now, there's another word, or it's kind of like a phrase, that could mean less than or equal to. And it starts with the word at. So like if I said to you, I have less than or equal to $20 on me right now. Less than or equal to $20. I could also say that at what I have $20. At most. Exactly. Good. Sometimes it's a tough one for me to explain how to get people to say it. But at most. So if I said to you today, the temperature at most is going to be 65 degrees. That means it's going to be less than or equal to 65 degrees. Okay, at most. So that one comes up. And is no more than. So again, going back to my example with money, if I said to you, I have no more than $20 on me. I don't have more than $20. That means I could have 20 or less.
Yeah.
Okay. If you can be no more than 18 to get like the student price for something. If you can be no more than 18, that means you have to be 18 or less. Or I could also say you could be at most 18 and still get the student price. Or your age has to be less than or equal to 18. It's all just different ways of saying that symbol. Now, once we have those, we can pretty much just say the opposite for the next ones. All right? So now this symbol, what's one way you could say that symbol? Kind of like the first way we said.
Is greater than?
You could say is greater than. Yep.
It's more than.
Or you could also say is more than. So like if I said to you, John's score is more than Sarah's score. That's like saying John's score is greater than Sarah's score. All right, and now the last symbol, we're also going to have three ways to say it, just like we did the symbol up above with the line under it. What do you think the first way we're going to say that one is?
Is greater than or equal to?
Yep. So that's the first one, is greater than or equal to. Now the second way to say it is going to be the opposite of at most.
At least.
At least. Right? That's the opposite. So like if I say you have to be at least 4 feet tall to go on the ride. Okay, you have to be at least 4 feet. That means you have to be 4 feet or greater. Okay. And how about the bottom one? What do you think that one's going to be?
Minimum.
Okay, so if you said like you have to be a minimum of 4 feet, like to go on the ride, I would say that would be greater than or equal to a minimum of 4 feet. Not the one I have under there, but that is another good one. It's going to be similar to this one.
Is more than.
Is more than.
You could say is more than, or what if you started out saying it like this?
Is no more.
Well, that one is no more than.
Is.
Yeah?
No less than.
Is no less than. Yes. So the height requirement to go on this ride is no less than 4 feet. You have to be no less than 4 feet tall. Right? No less than 4 feet means you have to be at least 4 feet or higher.
What if I was 3'12"? 3'12".
That's 4 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, so just different ways of saying those inequality symbols. The first one is the most common one in each one. It is less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. But a lot of times in a word problem, at most and at least come up quite a bit. Okay, in word problems. Okay, so any questions on those 4 symbols? Or different ways to say them? All right, so let's try this one. So it says, write each sentence as an inequality. Okay, so remember, inequality has 3 parts to it. You've got something on the left, then you've got one of these 4 symbols. Not all 4 of them, but you have one of them in the middle, and then you have something on the right. So something on the left, symbol, something on the right. All right, let's see if we can kind of break down the sentence and figure out like what the left part is, the middle part, and then the right part. What part of that sentence tells me what's going to be on the left side?
3.5.
That's part of it.
Less than?
No, the less than is not what's going to be on the left side. Yeah.
Minus.
That's also part of what's on the left, but there's more than that. Yeah.
The W.
The W minus 3.5. Everything right up to where you see an inequality phrase. That's the left-hand side. So this is all going to be on the left. Now, what's the inequality phrase in this problem?
Less than or equal to.
Is less than or equal to. So there's your. Let's do it like that because it's on 2 different lines. is less than or equal to. That's the inequality phrase. All that's going to be in the middle. And then what is going to be on the right? -2. Okay, it's going to be on the right. So now we know where each thing goes. We just have to convert it from words to an inequality. Okay, let's start with the left side. How would you write what's in the left box as an expression, basically without the word minus? What do you put? Yeah.
3.5 minus W.
So I know sometimes with subtraction we have to be careful, but when you use the word minus, you pretty much write it in the order you see it. Like if I said to you to do 10 minus 2, you would do 10 minus 2 and get 8.
What would you do though?
Does that make sense? Like if you had 10 minus 2, you wouldn't write 2 subtraction sign 10 to figure out what this is. So this and this are not the same thing. What you would want here is that. Now these are the same thing.
Got it.
Yeah, we don't have to switch the order. You would switch the order if you saw something like, what's one of the phrases? We use different sometimes, but we don't switch it for that. Fewer than, like 2 fewer than 10. You would do 10 minus 2. So when you see the phrase like fewer than in a subtraction, that's when you have to switch it. Yeah.
W negative 2.5.
Yeah, just W, the subtraction symbol, and 3.5. So W minus 3.5. And then the next one is the less than or equal to symbol. So we're going to use, we'll call that like symbol number 2. Less than or equal to. And what goes on the right-hand side?
-2.
-2. Now, did the directions say to solve? No. It just said write the sentence as an inequality. And that's what we did. If we were going to solve it and get W by itself, does anybody know what you would do on both sides? Yeah?
You'd add 3.5 to both sides.
Exactly. You would add 3.5 to both sides and you would solve it just like it was an equation. Okay, we're not solving it, but that's how you would solve it. So that's your answer. All right, let's look at B. All right, let's underline again what we think the left side is, then the middle, and then the right. Okay. What do you think, or what part of that is going to be the left side of our problem?
N.
Yeah, n, right? The number m, that's the left. Okay. What's going to be the middle? What?
No less than.
No less than. So we're going to look up what that means. And then what part of that is going to be the right? The 5. Okay. So the left, well, there's not really anything to do here. It's just n. And what's going to go on the right? There's not really much to do with that.
It's like the arrow pointing towards the positive side of what the line under it is the greater than or equal to.
So I'm just asking what goes on the right.
Oh.
But we're going to do that next, yeah. So at least get those 2 things done. Those are the simplest. Now let's do the middle. And which one did you say it was?
If you make an arrow pointing towards the right side without the line and the line under it.
Without the line under it.
Yeah.
So yeah, no less than, right? If I told you on the next test, you need to get a grade that's no less than 70 to get your average up to what you need to pass. If I said no less than 70, means you could get a 70 or you could get higher, right? So it's the one that's pointing to the right, just like Eric said. Now, that's one that if they did say to solve it,
What did the green line under it? It says where you said on the definition.
oh yeah, line under it, yeah. No less than means that number or higher. So let's go back to that just to make sure we Remember, no less than it has the line under it. Yeah, thank you. Now, if they asked us to solve that one for n, what would you do? Yeah.
Wait,
Well, if you divided each side by 5, then you would have this. You'd have n divided by 5 is greater than or equal to 1. Yep, you have another thought?
would you like multiply? Like 5 both sides or something?
Well, what's the goal when it means to solve for something? What are you trying to do?
Trying to find what n equals.
You're trying to what?
Find what n equals.
Okay, if it was an equation, you're trying to find what n equals. And how do you do that? You have to, like in any equation, you have to make sure that you get the answer, but to get the answer, you got to make sure that something is, and to get something as simple as you can, you have to make sure that what is on one side? The letter. So the goal when you're solving an equation or an inequality is to get the letter by itself on one side. Okay. So does that change anyone's thoughts about if I said to solve this, what you would do?
You would just keep it the same.
You would keep it the same. It already is solved. It says n is greater than 5. Once the letter is by itself, you're done. In this problem, the letter was not by itself. So we'd have to solve it if that's what they asked for. All right, let's try this one. It says a number x times 13 is at most 8. Now, if they didn't give us the x, you would have to pick your own letter. I would probably just use n for number. But since they specifically told us to use x, we have to use x. All right, so let's start with the left-hand side. Anyone think they could tell me what's going to go on the left?
X times 13.
X times 13.
So X not 13.
You could do x and then the dot or and the 13. You could do it that way. X times 13. And now everything right up until the inequality phrase is the left. Now, is at most. What does at most mean?
It means like the sign.
Yeah, what inequality symbol? What's the most common word we use for at
Less
most?
than or equal to.
Less than or equal to. Right? At most, you will have 5 tests for the term. That means 5 is the maximum, but you could have less. So less than or equal to. And what goes on the other side?
8.
8. Yep, is at most 8. Now, you can leave it like that, that's fine. Or, what's another way that we would write this left-hand side? Typically, when you have x times 13, how do we write that?
You would minus 13.
Okay, not how would you solve it? What's another way to write x times 13? We normally don't, I mean, that's okay.
13x.
Yeah, normally we would do this. So normally we would do 13x is less than or equal to 8. But x times 13 it's okay. Yeah. Any question on that one? And what operation would we use if they asked us to solve it? Yeah?
Division.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why did you switch the x and then 13 when you took away the multiplication sign?
So when you multiply two things together, like 5 and 2 or 2 and 5, does the order you multiply them in matter?
No.
No.
Oh.
So usually when you write a letter times a number, we put the number in front and make it the coefficient. There's nothing wrong with putting it after the x because that's how the sentence was written. But I would say that's more typical to do 13x rather than x13. Okay. Any other questions on it? All right. So The next one, at the bottom, you guys have a blank line, and it says a blank is a value that makes an inequality true. We call that a solution. So a solution of an inequality is a value that makes it true. So for example, let's take 2x is greater than 10. Let's say I plug in 6. If you fill in 6 for x, what's 2 times 6? 12. Is 12 greater than 10? Yeah. So 6 would be a solution. Okay. Let's try 10. Oh, I know. Let's do I don't know. We'll do another one like 9. What's 2 times 9? 18. Is 18 greater than 10? Yeah. So 9 is another solution. Let's try 3. What's 2 times 3? 6. Is 6 greater than 10?
No.
No. It's less. So 3 is not a solution to that one. Right? So that's what it means to see if the statement is true. You plug in a number and see if it works. So the set of all solutions that make the inequality true is called the solution set. So we're calling it a set because there's more than one answer. In fact, in this problem, there's an infinite amount of answers. X could be 12, X could be 13, 15, 20, 80, 206. It could be any number that's actually bigger than 5. That would be the answer to that one. Any number that's bigger than 5 is in the set of numbers that make this true. Any number smaller than 5 is not in the set of numbers that make that true. Actually, smaller than or equal to 5 would not be true.
So for this problem, would you use the squiggly equal sign?
No, when we solve inequalities, we generally are going to use one of the symbols that I gave you, one of the 4.
Okay, for like to give us the answer, it would be x will equal 12, or if you wanted that to give us the answer for x.
So when we write the answer here, we're generally not going to have any equal signs in the problem.
Okay.
We're only going to have equal signs if the original problem had an equal sign. If the original problem didn't, then we won't in our answer either.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so let's see specifically if -4 is a solution to the inequality. I think you guys already have that written down, but you need the example. There's the example. All right, so to see if -4 is a solution, what's the first thing that we have to do with the -4? Yeah, plug it in. Okay, so plug that in. -4 plus 8 is less than -3, and now we simplify it. What's -4 plus 8?
4.
Yeah, it's going to give us 4 is less than -3. Now you have to figure out, is that true? Is 4 less than -3? No, it is not. So now we can answer the question. Is -4 a solution?
No.
No. So we would just write -4 is not a solution. Because when you plugged it in, it doesn't work. You don't get a true statement. All right, let's try -4 in this one. Okay, so again, we're checking -4. So what's the first thing I have to do with it? To check if it's a solution.
Plug it in.
Plug it in. So we're going to have negative 4.5. And what should I do now so we know it's multiplication? Because I got to put negative 4 next to that. Yeah? Yeah, I would do parentheses, just like that. That's really clear. I probably wouldn't use a dot for multiplication. I don't like using dots for multiplication when I have decimals. To me, it looks confusing if you write this.
To make the dot bigger.
And then you'd have like the negative right there. So parentheses is probably the clearest way. Not the only way, but. All right, and then greater than negative 21. Okay, so let's use we'll use a calculator, but what do we know about a negative times a negative?
Positive.
It's a positive. And even if we didn't know the number yet, is a positive number bigger than a negative number?
Yes.
Yeah. So we know this is going to be true. It doesn't matter what it comes out to. It's negative 4.5 times negative 4. And we're going to get positive 18 is greater than negative 21. And we just said, yep, that's true. So what does that mean about negative 4? Yeah?
It's a possible solution.
It is a solution. Yeah, it's not the only solution, but it's one solution. Okay, so notice, it's very important there. I'm saying negative 4 is a solution. I'm not saying negative 4 is the only solution. It's one. Okay. Any questions on checking if a number is a solution? Okay, so last thing. So we'll see, I don't know, we'll see how long this takes. So one way that you can write your answer when you're doing an inequality problem is to do a graph. Not the only way to write the answer, but it's one way. So on the guided notes, the first blank, you want to fill in, you might need to write it up above if you don't have enough room, the graph of an inequality. I think I messed something up. Hold on. There it is. The graph of an inequality
Just change colors.
shows the solution set on a number line. So it's like we're drawing a picture. Okay? And we can do these kind of problems in Edge Elastic on the test, where we draw the picture as a graph. Okay? Draw the answer as a graph. All right, so a couple things to know when we are graphing inequalities. You can actually see some examples of what inequalities look like when you graph them if you look at example 4. Okay, that's basically the picture you're going to be making. So the first thing we have to do is make sure that our problem is written a certain way. The reason we're doing this is because it's going to make it easier when we do the graph. So we always want letter, symbol, number. You're not going to have all 4 symbols. The symbol you'll have depends on the problem, but it's either the less than or equal to, greater than, or greater than or equal to. Okay, so an example of what it should look like if it's set up properly: letter, symbol, number. That's perfect. That's what you want to have. If it's not set up that way, we can fix it. Let's say you had something like this. 3 is greater than y. Is that one set up letter, symbol, number?
No.
What do you think, Matt?
No.
No. The letter is always supposed to be on the left. So we can switch it. Okay? We can take this and we can switch it so the y is on the left and the 3 is on the right. But we just have to be careful about what goes in the middle of this now. Look at the symbol that was there originally. What is it pointing at?
The Y.
It's pointing, like if you made an arrow out of it, it's pointing at the y. if you fix it, because the letter was on the wrong side, it still has to be pointing at what it was originally. It still has to be pointing at the Y. So if I see something like this, I fix it so it's like that. We always want letter, symbol, and then number. And the reason we want that has to do with making the picture. That's going to help us out. Okay, next thing we have to do is we have to put a circle on the number line. So step 2, you guys already have that part written down. You just have to fill in these 2 blanks. There's 2 kinds of circles. So after use and, one type of circle that we use is an open circle. Another type of circle that we use is a closed circle. Now I noticed on your guided notes,
This we get small.
yeah, I think you'll be able to fit it pretty, it should fit okay. But where it says closed circle, right, it didn't put the little lines under the symbols. So you guys want to add those 2 lines in, just like I did, next to the circle that's filled in black. Okay, everyone get that? So next to the circle that's filled in black, put the 2 lines right under the greater than and less than symbols. I don't know why that was like that. Okay, and when they say put a circle on the number, what number do they mean? They mean this number. Or that number. They mean whatever number is by itself on the right-hand side. Now the last step. Step 3 is to shade the number line. So you're going to start at the circle that you just made. If you had a greater than or a less than symbol, you had the open circle. If you had the greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, you'd have the filled in circle. And then you're going to draw an arrow from that circle in the direction that the inequality is pointing. So if I look at something like that, x is less than 3, to me, I make an arrow out of it, that's pointing left. So I'm going to draw an arrow going to the left. If I had something like that, I'm going to have a circle on the number 12, and then I'm going to do an arrow. Think of making that an arrow, going to the right. So the arrow starts at your circle, and it either goes to the left or it goes to the right. So what we'll do, we're going to try a couple things. We're going to try one where I give you something like this, and then you graph it. And then we'll do the reverse. I'll give you the graph, and you're going to tell me the inequality. Okay, so just to make sure we know which one is which, that's an inequality. That's an inequality. That's a graph. That's a graph. Okay. All right, so let's try making a couple graphs. All right, so y is less than or equal to -3. Okay, first step. Is that set up the way that we want it? What's the way that we want it? We want this, this, then this.
Letter, symbol, number.
Letter, symbol, number. Yep, perfect. And this one is set up exactly like that. Letter, symbol, number. Okay, so it's already set up the way we want. Next thing, you won't have to do this on Elastic, but we do have to number our number line. So I just start at -3. You don't have to number every mark. Just put in a few. Sometimes I'll do 3, sometimes I'll do 4. Just depends. Kind of depends how big I have to make my number line. Okay, now let's bring up the directions. Step 2, put a circle on the number. Okay, what number are we going to put a circle on?
-3.
-3. And now, what kind of circle? Open or closed?
Open.
All right, why do you say open?
Close.
Okay, why do you say closed?
Yeah, it's the symbol with the line under it.
It's the symbol with the line under it. Anytime you got a symbol with a line under it, you've got to make the filled in, the closed circle. Perfect. So we're going to put a filled in circle on -3. And once we put the circle, are we good? Are we done? Now, what do I still have to do, Sam?
You still have to do the line pointing.
Yeah, we still have to shade that line in. And which way is it going to point?
Left.
Yep. So it's going to point in the direction that that symbol is pointing. That's the whole reason we set it up letter, symbol, number. If you don't set it up that way, then this symbol does not tell you which way to shade. So you have to set it up letter, symbol, number for that trick to work. Okay, so now shade to the left. And some teachers may have you shade above the number line. I just do it right on the number line. On Edge Elastic, it's just going to be right on the number line. On the homework, you can do it whatever way you want. Any question on that? All right, so why don't you guys try B and C. Give you a minute or so to do those. And then we'll do example 4, and then that might take us pretty close to the end. We'll see. All right, let's take a look at B. So B says 2 is less than x. So first step, make sure it is in the form letter, symbol, number. Is B set up that way?
No.
No. So it's not set up the way we want it. What do we want on the left? We don't want the 2 there. We want the x there. And then what do we want on the right? The 2. Now you can do that. You can switch the x and the 2, but we have to make sure that it's still pointing at what it was originally. The inequality was pointing at the 2, so it still has to point at the 2. Okay? All right, now we've done step 1. So step 2, we need to put a circle on the number line. So I'm just going to this time, you can number more or less. I'd say as long as you number a few numbers like that, that's fine. Okay, what kind of circle do we need on 2?
Open circle.
Right, this is an open circle because it doesn't have the line under it. No line under it, no filling in the circle. So open circle on 2. And then the last step, we have to shade the number line in the direction it's pointing. That only works if you do step 1. Okay. We did step 1. So which way am I going to shade from the 2?
Right.
Yep, I'm going to shade to the right. Shade to the right. Okay, on Edge Elastic, the way it'll work is there'll be 4 buttons you can click. One of them will be an open circle going right, an open circle going left, a filled-in circle going right, and a filled-in circle going left. So you'll just have to click on the one you want. In this case, open circle going right, you click on that one or you drag it up to the number line, and then you can put the arrow wherever you want on the number line. Okay, let's look at the last one. Is it set up? Letter, symbol, number. What do you think, Eli?
Yep.
Yep, that's set up letter, symbol, number. So that's perfect. Just going to number 3 of them this time. Just -1, 0, 1. What kind of circle do we need this time? Open or closed? open because it doesn't have the equal to. And where's the circle going to go? On what number? Yep.
The 0.
On the 0. And now the last step, shade. Which way do we shade this time? Marie?
That way.
Yep, to the
Right.
right. So shade to the right. Okay. So in those problems, they gave you an inequality and you drew the picture. Now for the last one, we're going to switch it. I'm going to give you the picture and I want you to tell me the inequality. Now in each inequality, you have to have a letter. Doesn't matter if you use X, Y. I usually just use X. So that's the first thing you always want to start with. X is going to be your letter. Unless they tell you to use a different letter. Then just do whatever they tell you. So X is the letter. What's going to be the number that goes on the right side of this problem? Yeah?
48.
That's where the circle is. So it's on 48. And now we have to decide about the symbol in the middle. Well, we know which way it's pointing, and it's filled in. So what's the name of the symbol we're going to put here?
Greater than or equal to.
Greater than or equal to. Now I know on your keyboard you can't type that symbol, so I'll make it click in the box. That symbol will be one of the choices that pops up. All 4 will pop up. So you could pick either one. Well, there's only one right answer, but you'll be able to pick from all 4. And that's it. X is greater than or equal to 48. Any question on that? All right, let's try the last one. What do we want to use for our letter?
L.
L. All right, we can do an L. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely do it cursive because I don't want my L, if I make it like that, to look like a less than sign or be confusing. So I'm gonna make it clear it's an L. So we have L. What's gonna be the number on the right? 52. And now this time it's a open circle shading to the left. So what inequality symbol do we use for that?
Less than.
Less than. Yep. We didn't do a ton of practice with solving inequalities. We didn't really solve any today. It's just kind of practicing making graphs, which we'll do more tomorrow, and then translating from a sentence into an inequality. Okay, so I think that's probably a good place to stop. So the worksheet tonight, section 2.1. The reference sheet is actually already up on Schoology. So it says it's going to be up Wednesday. I got it done early, so it's already done. And then we'll have our test this week on Friday.